All right, everybody. So for today, we're going to talk about something that everyone likes, but they really don't want to admit it because it's not cool to be cool deep down. Because that's kind of the people we are. Transformers. So pretty much what the exact topic we're going to talk about is actually going to be the Transformers franchise during the PlayStation 3 era, which is honestly the golden age of Transformers. In all honesty, it started off with War for Cybertron, and then that ended up spanning two games: War for Cybertron, Fall for Cybertron, and then that turned into Transformers: Rise of the Dark Spark. I had to look because, yeah, and of course that ended with Transformers: Devastation. So pretty much to give y'all all a brief history and a grasp of what happened is that this is coming off the boom of the Transformers movie, the Michael Bay movie from 2007. So if anyone was living under a rock and they just don't have a full grasp of the situation, Transformers was pretty much a semi-dead series at the time. And the reason why I say that is that the original Transformers, very popular. And then it went away, just like all American cartoons do. The series was revived in Japan. In Japan, it kept going. They made a bunch of shows. They ended up making Headmasters. They made Victory. They made Zone. They ended up going further than that. They ended up making RID. They ended up making Energon. All these kind of shows. Well, eventually, what really happened was Transformers dropped off the grid in the West because people stopped buying the toys, so Hasbro canceled it, and they decided that they wanted to reboot it. And they were actually confronted by the company Mainframe, which is who made Reboot. And Reboot blew up. It was famous. It was great. It had horrible luck, but it was a great show, just enough to where Hasbro believed that they could do what they wanted. So they gave them reign to make a show, and they ended up making Beast Wars. Beast Wars saved the franchise because Transformers was dead at that point in time. So Beast Wars came along. And of course, Beast Wars spawned Beast Machines. After Beast Machines, Hasbro panicked because they didn't have anything to do. So they started importing shows from Japan. So eventually, they started building enough fan base again to where multiple people were getting back into Transformers and toys were being sold and comics were being sold that they ended up making the 2007 movie with Michael Bay. Now, I'll be honest with you, love that movie. The movie was phenomenal. It was like the 1986 movie, but opposite. Everyone that survived in that movie died in the old movie. It's like all kinds of fun stuff. They had great quotes. If you're a Transformer fan or if you watch Transformers, it's like eye candy. It's the best way I can explain it. But the first movie, very good. So the movie did so well that they decided to make video games for Transformers again. And that's what spawned War for Cybertron. War for Cybertron is it is the precursor to the original cartoon. It is how the planet fell apart. It is how Megatron started his war. It's about how Optimus wasn't able to fully grasp everything and everything went wrong and they ended up having to evacuate the planet. Well, War for Cybertron, when that came out, that did really good. War for Cybertron was made by High Moon Studios, the same people that made the Deadpool video game. Before Deadpool, though. Before Deadpool. And after War for Cybertron did extremely well, this came out. Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Transformers Fall of Cybertron was the conclusion to how the planet fell apart. And it was amazing. There was so many Easter eggs, so much eye candy. Voice acting was phenomenal. They brought back some favorites. They brought back some favorite characters too, like Jazz and Grimlock and Metroplex and all these people. So the game did extremely well. Sold really good, had really good ratings, all of this. But this left Hasbro in the pickle. How do you keep making money off of something you perfected? Yeah, that's where the issue came in. So pretty much what ended up happening was High Moon was no longer available because they moved on to make the Deadpool game, which is probably one of the worst things they ever did. And after that happened, they ended up bringing in Activision. Yeah, Activision. Yeah, you know that company that likes to fail at everything they do? That company. Yeah, they brought Activision into the mix. And Activision ended up making this. Rise of the Darkspark. Now, you'll see when you look at it, you'll see Grimlock's here from one of the Transformer live action movies. And the reason why he's there from Age of Extinction is that Hasbro had this brilliant idea. Why don't they connect this perfect game to their live action franchise? So yeah, they did that. They took a amazing game. They made a third game which is extremely lackluster, and they connected it to the movies. So instead of just leaving it alone, because it was the perfect beginning to the G1 cartoon, they decided to connect it to the live action movies, which at the time was starting to fail. So as you know by now, this did not do well at all. Fans hated it. Absolutely hated it. They thought it was the most random thing to do. And then they kind of left it on this weird, obscene cliffhanger, and they didn't even use any of the characters anyone liked from the previous games. So there's a whole mess of why that failed, and we won't go into that. But because that one did bad, they went back to the drawing board, and they realized that G1 is what people wanted. They want Generation 1 Transformers. So Activision made this, Transformers Devastation. Great game. It had Devastator, had a lot of combiners, it had Wheeljack, Grimlock, had a bunch of the old characters, and it was a really good game. Fast action, high pace, fun story, all of it. And it left off on this crazy cliffhanger. Well, take a while, guess what was too late? The game failed. The game completely failed, and there was no way to help it out. So because of that, they didn't make a second game. So a lot of us never got any closure or an ending to this franchise in any way or form, and Hasbro pretty much just shelved the games and moved on, because it's the kind of company they are. So that is what happened with the Transformers video games. Now, they still kept making Transformer games, but none of them were nearly the quality or the story that was told in the first two games. And then the fourth game was an attempt to revive that kind of setting, that kind of story, that kind of theme. And it failed because fans were just burned out and they just didn't want anything to do with it by that point. So yeah, that is what we decided to discuss today. Transformers video games and how the franchise crumbled. All because Hasbro is completely incompetent and cannot read a scenario in any way or form. All right, everybody, have a good day, and thank you for watching.